just past 6 p.m. UK time, and this is the Spiritual Discussion Program. I'm Saad in southeast London. The weather right now is overcast, and I think it's been, I'll say mild. And with me as usual is Gregory. Gregory, how are you, and how is the weather where you are?
It's fine. Weather is very mild here, sunny.
Okay. Very good. I know we are hearing sort of as if we're outside. I hope it's not too much interference going on. So, Gregory, as usual, if you just stay on mute when I'm speaking, and I'll aim to do the same thing. So yeah, thank you. That's made it really good. So welcome listeners to this Spiritual Discussion Program. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdrusheen. And we always have a new topic each week. The topic for tonight is Grasp the Will of God. Grasp the Will of God. You can join in the discussion with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. I'm going to begin with what is the Grail Message? The Grail Message in the Light of Truth by Abdrusheen is a spiritual knowledge of life. It offers an explanation of the world, a picture of creation on the basis of natural laws. Its lectures contain valuable basic elements as a help in life, for through the knowledge mediated, the readers again brought closer to life and led back to God. The Grail Message deals with important fundamental questions of life by explaining in a clear and logical way the automatic working of the laws of nature, the whole weaving of creation, allowing every process to be recognized, and thereby the purpose of our whole life. It is directed at the individual and speaks to the innate experiences of the human being, their strengths and weaknesses. Thus, every reader has the opportunity to discover through the intuitive perception if what is stated is the truth. Combining with matter-of-fact reasoning, a complete world picture arises, where there is no separation between the visible world and the great world beyond the five senses, nor any separation between scientific and religious striving for knowledge. I'd like to give you a couple of quotes from the author of the Grail Message, Abdrusheen. The hearer and reader of my lectures should always work within himself, keenly probing and building bridges from one lecture to the other, as well as out into the great and small world happenings. Only then will he be able to understand the Grail Message and find that it gradually shapes itself into one complete whole, without leaving any gaps. Again and again, in all the happenings, the reader will come back to the basic features. He can explain everything without having to change even one single sentence. The word of the Grail Message lives, so that it permits only those people who really carry the honest desire in their souls to find abundantly. All else is automatically rejected by it. For the arrogant and those who seek superficially, the message will remain the book with 7 seals. One more quote from the author. I wish to fill the gaps which have so far always remained unanswered in the souls of men, and which never leave any serious thinker in peace if he earnestly seeks for the truth. So, dear listeners, just to remind you, the topic for tonight is grasp the will of God. Grasp the will of God. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. Gregory, as you know, I like to look in the dictionary for the meaning of the words in the topic. So tonight's topic says, the topic is grasp the will of God. And this is what I found for the word grasp, the meaning of grasp. It says seize and hold firmly. Then another meaning, I'm going to put the second one as well. Another meaning also given in the dictionary says to understand something special, especially something difficult. Gregory, what do you say on this meaning of the word grasp there?
Well, thanks. In the first case, the combination taken from the first definition and the second one can have a much clearer picture, which is basically to understand deeply and make use of that which one has understood. That comes nearest, or the nearest, intuitive picture of to grasp.
Thank you for that. So I'm just going to repeat what you've said there. Is to understand, and if I remember correctly, I don't think you said, I can't remember exactly what you said, but is it to use it, grasp and use it or apply it deeply?
Yeah, one said to understand and to make use of what has been understood in activities. That is to grasp.
Right. Yes, so I'm just going to repeat that again. So to understand and make use of what you have understood, basically apply it in that way. Yes. And thank you for that. So next word, will. And that in the dictionary, it means, in the dictionary it says, expressing the future tense, will. Like this example they give is, you will regret it when you get older. So that's one meaning, something about in the future. Then the second one is expressing inevitable events. And they have given an example of that is accidents will happen. That's supposed to be inevitable. So I'm not quite sure, Gregory, if that helps at all in understanding the meaning of when we use it with the will of God. I know we don't not going to God in this explanation. But
what you have just read out is the verb in the verbal interpretation. I mean, it's a verb. Whereas what you are asking is the noun.
Right. So, okay. Even so, I thought it was still not really giving. It doesn't seem very applicable for our discussion. That's what I was really saying. So, Could you help us with a better meaning?
Well, the meaning in terms of noun is more of, how could one describe it now? It is more of a law, that which stands, that which ensures things are done according to the law. That in itself is a will.
Right. So done in according to the law. So in
Yeah.
according to,
Yeah.
I'm writing
Law.
it done in accordance, or for accordance. Makes it easy. Accordance.
Because you do have, okay, this person has written a will.
Yes. So now, obviously, the law we're talking about is God's law, because this is the will of God we are talking here. So, okay. So, yeah. I'm not going to look at the meaning of the word God. I didn't decide to do that for the discussion tonight, because I think it's clear for many people. It should be clear for everyone. So, now, Gregory, in Islam, they use this phrase a lot, inshallah, which is, if God wills, God wills it to be so. I'm going to say, God wills, so be it. I think that's a better way. So, if God wills, so be it. And as I said, they use that a lot. Let me give a bit of context on that. So, again, in my research, they said there's a belief in this, again in Islam, they say belief in Al-Qadr, which basically is a belief in predestination. This means that Allah already knows everything that will happen, and nothing happens unless it is according to Allah's will. However, this does not mean that the choices people make are not free choices. Instead, it means that Allah knows what people will choose to do. And they've used, again in this research that I was looking up, it says, the Quran says, the Lord has created and balanced all things and has fixed their destinies and guided them. And this is from Surah 87, verses 2 to 3. And Muslims use this verse as evidence of the belief in predestinations. Some Muslims like the idea of Al-Qadr because they find it reassuring that if bad things happen, Allah must have planned them. So, Gregory, just to summarize what I've said there, in this one it's saying that Muslims believe in this belief called Al-Qadr, where God has, things have been predestined, meaning that God already knows something will happen, everything that will happen. Before it happens, let me say that way. And even though people are free to make their own choices freely. So now this is concerning God's will. This is what we're discussing tonight. So it sounds from this, Gregory, everything has already been pre-planned in accordance with the Islamic understanding, by God already. So even though man has a free choice in it, it sounds a bit hard to understand it, or contradictory, if I may say. So, so my question is, Gregory, is it God's will means that things are pre-planned or predestined?
Again, it is the misinterpretation. The misinterpretation came about because these expressions have not been examined deeply enough intuitively. What is predestined? What has been there? What does not change? What hasn't changed from the beginning and will never ever change are the laws which have been woven into creation, which have been woven into nature. These laws help with the maintenance, with the development in creation. These laws themselves never change, and therefore they have been predetermined before or during when creation came into existence. What many have interpreted is their own limited understanding, because as you read, it was said man has free will. So man has been granted the free will to decide how he wishes to proceed, or to decide how he wishes to use the opportunities granted him. So if he or she wishes to gamble away and not use that opportunity to mature in accordance with this will, then that free will, which has been granted, turns out to be a curse rather than a blessing. If, however, he decides to use the opportunities which have been granted to him in such a way as to bring benefit, so that he or she will become conscious and finally self-conscious in accordance with this will, then that will be for the benefit and he or she will grow.
Thank you so much, Gregory, for this answer. So it, from what you've said, it's clear that it's like the interpretation by Muslims in this is like they grasp the wrong end of the stick, if I can say it like that. You've been saying what is predestined are the laws. They are the ones that are, they could say, unchangeable or fixed. So that is, you could say, from God that is how it is. But not the. Let me just say something, Gregory, and you can just respond to that. So the outcome is not, the laws are fixed, or let's say unchangeable, and that is the one that is, you could say, as you said, is destined to be like that. But making choices and the outcome coming from the choices, they are not predetermined. Am I right, Gregory? Am I right to say that?
Correct. They are not predetermined because it is the human personality that makes those choices.
Right.
How can you talk of a free will when to decide when you are not permitted to decide? The thing is that you are permitted to decide. In making this decision, you are then subject to the consequences of your decision. If subsequently your decisions are such that one is able to make use of these opportunities, which opportunities basically means that power, resources are granted to this human personality to start from that state of lack of consciousness to consciousness, and finally to become self-conscious. Then, in following that path, it brings benefits for that which was unconscious. Now it has become self-conscious. That which was unaware, now it has become self-aware. That is progress. If, however, the opportunities, which also include the resources, is granted to the human personality, but decides, either due to ignorance or laziness, to squander these opportunities, in spite of all the urgings to make use of this opportunity to develop itself, then it is it, the personality, that made that decision, which runs counter to the will, which will has always been in creation, and in fact, these human spirits only came into existence through this will. So it is how to be. How should I ensure that I become self-conscious so I can be useful to the mechanism of nature, of creation, because I have been granted the opportunities. So it's as clear as that.
Thank you for that, Gregory. In that question that I asked, just now, and we began with basically, there was this point that the Muslims that seem to believe or accept, think that Allah knows. Yes, you make your choice freely. No question on that one. But Allah already knows in advance. That's what they mean by predestination. What your choice is going to be, and how this might be. I'm now making my own supposition. So they're saying, let's say they say Allah is all knowing. So maybe they are thinking, well, okay, you have your free choice, but God knows what your choice is going to be before you make the choice, and so He knows the outcome, of course, as well. But let me leave that to the side. So can you address that? How can God know before you make the choice what your choice is going to be?
The answer lies in the question. It is not consistent to say one is going to be inconsistent before making a choice. What happens basically is once the human personality has made a choice, that choice, through the will which has been woven into creation, that choice is made available. That choice is clear to the decision, as to the decision which has been made. It's not that before the human personality makes a choice, the Lord Almighty already knows the choice. That is not true. And from the language which is spoken, it can already be seen that that is inconsistent with the free will. If one has a free will, and we already say you have a free will to make a decision, and we already know the decision you are going to make, then it is not a free will.
Right. Thank you for that. Now, I want to ask, I'm going to read something else as well. Again, it's related to Islam here. So it's talking about free will, human free will, and judgment. And how does God's will act in this regard? So let me read this. The belief in free will is essential in Islam. This is because for Muslims, life is a test from Allah. Therefore, all human beings must make their own decisions on which they will be judged by Allah. on the day of judgment, God will have knowledge of the faith and the actions of every person, which are recorded in the book of life. The records of every individual's faith and actions will be read out to them on the day of judgment from the book of life. Muslims believe that God will reward those who have had faith and done good deeds, and will punish those who have not. Muslims use the term inshallah frequently in conversation to express their belief in al-qadar, which inshallah, we've said that already. So let me make that into a question now, Gregory. From this, what I've read out, the way they talked in this section, it seemed like they only got Muslims are under judgment, but let's say everybody is. So it says human beings make their own decisions, so it's not about Muslims alone. And so each individual will make their decisions, and then, let's say, follow their faith. It seems to me to do something to do with faith. You have to have a knowledge of your faith as well. That's part of the judgment there. So my question would be, Gregory, and also in Islam, they always mention a lot about mercy, justice and mercy. And sometimes when you read it, you think it may be arbitrary. You can be forgiven for something, and maybe you'll be punished for something, but it's all up to God's will, to which way it goes. So my question is, Gregory, in this judgment, is it only justice there, pure justice, like you did an action and you must get in quotes, the reward or the punishment for that? Or is there some mercy? Where does the mercy come into it? Because it seems you did an action and this is what you're going to get for it. If you do this other action, then that's what the other result will be for that. So it looks very straightforward and simple from that. And yet there's also mercy. So can we try to fit that in somehow? How does this work?
Well, thanks for this, because there seems to be a lot of confusion, because so many threads have been linked, and it has become manifold, and therefore it lacks clarity and simplicity. So when one reflects on these things very carefully, any time one makes a decision, these decisions are subject to the will of the Almighty, or are subject to the laws of creation, through which the will of the Almighty manifests. The laws of creation are also referred to as the laws of nature. And basically, when a decision is made, which decision is subject to a reciprocal activity, you then find that as a consequence of that decision, there will be a reciprocal activity. It is that reciprocal activity that is referred to as justice. That reciprocal activity ensures that what he or she has sown in creation is that which he or she must therefore reap. Or are human personalities expecting to sow wheat in the farm, and instead of them reaping wheat, are they expecting to go back to their farm to reap mangoes or apples, that this is unthinkable already gives the clearest indication that whatever a human personality has put in creation, has initiated in creation, the consequence of that is that he or she must taste of it. For if it does not taste of it, how will he then experience to know whether it is beneficial or not? If, however, along the line, before the reciprocal action manifests and have an impact on him or her, if along the line he then senses through his intuitive perception, through his thoughts or through his deeds, he then senses that he or she has done that which does not resonate with the will and makes another decision to deviate from the earlier decision he or she has made, then a turn is permitted. After all, it is the power that streams from on high that enables him or her to move, to be in motion. In that case, the personality is granted the power to make a move, this time in a different direction. The granting of the power, that in itself, an act of mercy. Not only that, the realization which the human spirit was able to make, that in itself was an act of mercy. For besides himself, there are other personalities who are striving to experience like himself, who form part of his or her conscience, that keep rapping on the door of its soul, asking him or her to reconsider the decision it has just made. For such a decision, which was made earlier, will not bring the required benefit. It will not bring the required benefit. For deep within the human personality, in its inner part of the soul or in his spirit, it understands or has some realization that it needs to cultivate the talents which have been implanted deep within it. And that being the case, it needs time and patience. It needs to exert itself to ensure these talents are cultivated so that it can move from that state of lack of consciousness to the state of consciousness, of awareness, and subsequently to become self-conscious. And there are other human personalities, there are other beings which have been put in place to support the human personality to ensure that these states of self-consciousness is always in their foresight. And therefore, you have that the human personality is supported again and again takes a willful effort to turn away from the supports, which supports have been woven into creation. It is these supports which are always there and which the human personality is able to make use of when it opens itself. These are the messages which have been woven into creation in support of the human personality who is journeying through this world of matter to acquire self-consciousness.
Thank you very much, Gregory, for your answer and picture that you painted there. There's a lot what you've said, and I'm not we're going to cover a lot of things in this show tonight, so hopefully we can come back to it a bit later. I just wanted to tell the listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message by Abdushin. And if you are interested to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that as I said, www.grail, that's Grail, message, MEAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is Grasp the Will of God. Grasp the Will of God. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1 again, space live stream, that's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space Grail Message, space the topic of the show, which tonight is Grasp the Will of God. And of course you can listen to our previous shows also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO.FM / Bless Radio 1. Gregory, now I want to move on to another way of looking at the will of God, which is described in Romans, in the Bible. Romans 12, chapter 12, verse 1 to 2. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So Gregory, here in the Bible there, in just Romans chapter 12, verse 1 to 2, there's you could say, a description of what is the will of God given there, which is, well, one aspect it says worship of God. So can we, is that the will of God, to worship God, or to do worship?
May I request you read it again?
Yes, yes, I will. I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, and what is good and acceptable and perfect. Just before you respond, Gregory, there's so much in these, just few lines, but there's so much there. Maybe we just take it one line or a few words at a time. So let me start my question again. So it said to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. That is the first line, Gregory. So could you just make sense of what is being said there? You say sacrifice your body. Make a living sacrifice your body. Yeah.
First, the word sacrifice calls for a decision. To make a decision in following one or the other. It has nothing to do with the destruction, but it has everything to do with making a decision. Secondly, that word body, if one follows it a bit closer, when it was referring to not to conform to this world, those bodies he was referring to are not necessarily the physical body, but the bodies which act as cloaks around the spirit. These bodies one may refer to as the soul. So there is the physical body, then outside of the physical body, there is the ethereal body. There is the animistic body before one comes to the spiritual. In that case, there is the need to purify. In the process of purifying these bodies, one comes to a state where the living word, which is then passed on to the human personality, this living word, which is the will of the Almighty, becomes clarified. In that clarification, and in subsequently their activities, all that they do will resonate with the will of the Almighty. Then that resonance is indeed the worship of the Almighty. The worship of the Almighty in the sense that they have purified their garments. They have purified their bodies. And in this purification, it's as if the garments are white, able to absorb of the radiations which stream in nature, which stream in creation. That is what is in accordance with the will of the Almighty, which the writer is striving to convey.
Thank you so much for this answer, Gregory. There's a lot to take in. I must say, when we just to follow those words, already sort of is quite, sounds really hard to really understand it. And then unless you have that, what you've just said, this awareness or knowledge of our other bodies, as the first thinking is, when you think of the word body, you're thinking of the physical body, but there are other bodies as well, and all of these bodies need to be purified. So it's and then just to add to that, what we were saying was there's supposed to be a transformation, a renewal of your mind. The word mind, again, you don't take that literally. You have to.
Well, thanks for adding that.
Yes.
That word transformation already qualifies what the writer was talking about. So thanks for adding that.
Yes. So yes, listeners, just you have to say these things are very deep, and it does require a lot of effort to take it all in, looking at it over and over, and sometimes, as I said in the introduction to the radio show, what is the Grail Message about? You read the lectures in the Grail Message, but it's like you have to. I don't want to say exactly a puzzle, but each time you look at it, and then what you have read before, it interacts with each other, and so you just reading it once doesn't mean you have understood everything. And so it completely aligns with our topic tonight, which says grasp the will of the Lord. Yes, grasping means understanding it, but also then you have to make use of it, as you said, Gregory. And making use all of this, it takes some time to take that, absorb it really, and to really use it. So this is like we are seeing it in practice now. So thank you for that. Now, again, in my search, when I was looking up what is God's will, and it says, so again, one reference I found where it says, the decrees of God are his eternal purpose, according to his will, whereby he has foreordained whatever comes to pass. I understand, this is not me speaking, someone else has written this. I understand by this that God's decree is his plan for the entirety of existence throughout all eternity. So and the person again is asking, so is the word decree a synonym for purpose? So let me ask that as a question now. So is God's will is the same as his purpose, eternal purpose, his plan for entire existence?
Very simply, the decree, one might also call it the plan, which is in place. This plan, basically, is the will, which will one may also refer to as manifesting as the laws, which laws are unchangeable. That is why they are the decrees. That is why it is the plan. It is through this plan that the human spirit seed grain was granted the opportunity to come into existence, even as an unconscious spirit seed grain. It is only through this plan that permitted this existence to be. It is also in this plan that this unconscious spirit seed grain is permitted to become conscious, not only conscious of its environment, but also to become self-conscious, knowing the capabilities that have been granted it if it exerts itself. So the plan is there to enable these human personalities or these spirit seed grains to become self-conscious. The plan makes possible through the laws which have been woven in creation. This plan makes possible for the human spirit seed grain to live its origin in the paradise of man, living there as an unconscious spirit seed grain. And in the turmoil, in moving away, where the pressure of experiencing is slower, away in the world of matter, gradually the spirit seed grain comes to consciousness, gradually comes to self-consciousness. This happens because deep within these seed grain have been implanted talents. It is the development of these talents in accordance with this reference framework, which is the will, that this spirit seed grain the opportunity to become self-conscious. So that is the plan. Whether it is able to become self-conscious or not also depends on how it has made use of the free will in making decisions that will enable it to develop in accordance with its will. So the opportunities are manifold, always there, always supporting.
Thank you very much, Gregory, again for your answer and the explanation you're giving there. And well, even you could say the A to Z of the human sort of journey. The start as a unconscious spirit seed or germ, and then leaving from the spiritual there where it originates, spiritual realm, down to this earth, in the journey to become conscious or self-conscious, to be more accurate, correct. And then the aim is to return back to the spiritual world fully conscious, self-conscious. That's the aim. All of that is, as you say, marked or designed, you could say, through the will of God, or by the will of God even. So thank you for that. Now, I'm going to go into, that was, so we've done Islam, if I can say it like that, and we've looked at Christianity, some quote from Christianity. Now I want to go to Judaism. So there, Gregory, again, in my research, he says, the will of God in Judaism, that's what I looked up. Can we understand, so let me read this quote first. The will of God is not something that can be understood by human logic. It is a mystery that can only be found through faith. And they say creation, covenant, halakha, which is walking with God, Torah, written and oral law, and mitzvah, which is commandment. This is the 5 central concepts that guide Jewish thought about carrying out God's will. So let me ask the first question there, Gregory, because there's so many things there. Let me repeat it first. The will of God is not something that can be understood by human logic. It is a mystery that can be only known through faith. And they say 5 things that constitutes that. Creation, covenant, halakha, which means walking with God, Torah, the written and oral law, and mitzvah, which is commandment, are the 5 central concepts that guide Jewish thought about carrying out God's will. So, my first question, Gregory, there is, can we understand the will of God?
Very simply, yes. Of course it is understandable. For that which is referred to as the will of the Almighty, that will must also permeate, activate that or whatever exists.
One moment, Gregory, sorry, just one, I just want to add one little point on this. So I'm going to repeat my question, so just one point. Can the will of God be understood by human logic? That's what I should have said. Can it be understood? Because obviously God does His will, and in His world, that's all, let's say, in His own world, it's all understandable. But can a human being understand God's will in human logic? Can a man being so? Is a God may be acting according to His will is His will, and of course it is not. I'm trying to distinguish, just to be clear, there's a God's way of acting, and the human may not understand how God is acting. That's what I'm pointing to. So can man really understand God's will with his human understanding?
Well, you stress the word logic.
Yes.
And you stress the word human logic. Now, what is that human logic that is referred to?
So you're asking me?
Yeah, what I'm saying, in the writings, when they say one cannot use human logic, then it would have been fair for those who made such writing to give an example of human logic. For it is not, in quotes, human logic that one is using when it is said that when you go to the farm and sow some crops, the produce will be in accordance with the seeds. With humans, they, in their logic, would wish that the produce must be something else. Human logic, if one may quote that, is filled with inconsistencies. In fact, it is human logic which is not understandable, because it is self-inconsistent. It is human logic that produces that you can reap where you have not sown. So, it is very sad that the word, the expression human logic has been made, but has not been defined what they meant by human logic. Whereas the logic which which is referred to in these discussions is the logic which exists intrinsic in nature, intrinsic in creation, and this logic permeates all that exists. So the everything, not mentioning, not defining what human logic is.
Thank you. So, yeah. Actually, before I continue, I want to let the listeners know you're listening to Bless Radio. This is the Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program, 6 to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of the show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Abdushin. If you also to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message for yourself, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, G-R-A-I-L, message, MESSAGE.com. And the topic we're discussing tonight is grasp the will of God. Grasp the will of God. You are welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting us on our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 0044 79 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on blessradio1.com. That's the number one. blessradio1, the number one.com. Also, you can listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number one, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, that's number one again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Grasp the Will of God. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well, also on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno. That's ZENO.FM/Bless Radio 1, the number one again. Now, there's something I'm just kind of let me bring that in a little bit later. Yes, you know, Gregory, in the Bible and in the Judaism as well, there are the 10 commandments of God given to man, and so are these commandments also the laws of God that you have been referring to, earlier on?
These 10 commandments are or represent or encapsulate the will of the Almighty that was given to the Jewish people as at the time of Moses. in fact, came through Moses.
And thank you for that. And so that was given to the Jewish people, like you said. So, and they're called the Ten Commandments of God. And I'm wondering, what about other people? Is it meant for only the Jewish people or Christians that follow after them? Or is it for the world?
As at the time they were given, the maturity that the tribe of Israel, the tribe of Judah, had acquired, that maturity made it possible for them, first and foremost, to be able to understand aright what the will of the Almighty demands from those people who are striving to live in accordance with His will. We learn the first and the foremost because of their stages of development. Subsequently, as the law goes, whoever receives of the blessings from on high needed to make use of these blessings, first for himself or herself, and subsequently to pass on the blessings to others. That is the will, or that resonates with the will of the Almighty. And that is why these commandments were granted them, so that they will first prepare themselves through understanding what it demands of them, and then subsequently making use of these commandments for their own beneficial development, and subsequently assisting others to come to a better understanding, so that others who are in close association with them are also able to benefit. Such is the will of the Almighty.
Thank you very much for this answer, Gregory. And of course, so far we have covered Islam, Christianity, and now Judaism. And now I want to look at another group of people, the Hindus. So again, in my research, this is what I found about the Hindus. Hindus believe in one God who manifests in many forms, deities, or images. They worship the one God under different names and aspects, such as Krishna, Shiva, Rama, Durga, Paramatma, Parameshwar, Parapita, Brahman, and so on. They also believe in karma, the law of cause and effect, and the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Hinduism is a monotheistic faith which acknowledges polytheism as a reflective of the diversity in God's creation. So, as you know, Gregory, this is quite sort of different from the Christian, Muslim, and the Jewish sort of understanding or faith, in their beliefs. So now, but these people, what I'm trying to point out, Gregory, they also believe in God, one God even, although they worship, they say their God manifests in many forms, they've said, with different names and aspects. So, and they also, you remember we talked about law, God's will being law, and they also believe in this law of karma, which is cause and effect. So there are some, let's say, Gregory, what I was going to say is there's some commonality and yet there's some differences as well. And it seems, we talked about consistency and the human thinking becoming very inconsistent. Even in the same faith, you find that people have an inconsistent logic, so-called logic, which, you can't make sense out of it. But here, Gregory, we see something, let's say, a different understanding is what I'm going to put it. Now, when you see that, is there any way that you can align it with, let's say, the other Abrahamic faiths, is what I was talking about earlier, or is it something totally different here?
Whatever the faith is, whatever the belief is, if it is not examined rigorously, put to test rigorously in different states, in different conditions, then one will find there will be lack of conviction. It remains faith. It remains just a belief. It was only at the initial stages, in the case of the people of Israel, that at the beginning they had to move in a step-by-step fashion in the perceptions of their intuitions to come to that particular state of maturity where they were able to perceive of the power that streams from on high. It is the same power that streams from on high, which power is now what many have been able to perceive through different channels, and because it's of different channels, they have now called them gods. So it is the intrinsic maturity which many a group have acquired, which intrinsic maturity can only come through personal self-examination. Belief only remains there. That means they hold a belief which remains stagnant. You hold a belief, if you do not use it through examination, how can you then grasp aright this belief? For what has happened is basically indolently they held to a belief which was never examined. Almost all the so-called Abrahamic, they talk about beliefs. Unless there is an examination of these beliefs, it will not lead the human personality anywhere, but it will remain on the same spot. For the lack, the personal conviction which is necessary to move the spirit from one level to the other. Hence, you have all the tumultuous confusion which has arisen. This confusion has arisen out of personal indolence, not wanting to do anything.
Thank you so much for that answer there, Gregory. Actually, somebody sent me, not during the show, but before, a message. You know, you get these quotes sometimes from famous people, and I got this one today or yesterday. I just want to open it 1 second. This is actually from Haile Selassie, you know, who is, I can say, maybe Emperor of Ethiopia. So, and it's headed, this spirituality does not come from religion. It comes from our soul. We must stop confusing religion and spirituality. Religion is a set of rules and regulations and rituals created by humans, which was supposed to help people grow spiritually. Due to human imperfection, religion has become corrupt, political, and divisive, and a tool for power struggle. Spirituality is not theology or ideology. It is simply a way of life, pure and original, as was given by the Most High of creation. Spirituality is a network linking us to the Most High, the universe, and each other. And that's from Haile Selassie. I was even taken aback that this is what he said. So, and I checked it, and it seems to be genuine. But it's quite incredible. This is what he stated. You know, it's like a deep perception there. Just like you're saying, Gregory, we have to we must examine, you know, these beliefs. You know, we know there are differences there, and how otherwise you know which is right or wrong, because you could just follow it, and just because somebody said something. And I'm going to ask you further questions a little bit more in a minute, Gregory, on this point. Let me just let me think on that one. Yeah, I will come to it straight away in a way, Gregory. So, you know, we're talking about the will, grasping the will of God. So I will say the first point would be to find what is the will of God. And you mentioned about God's will being in the laws, you know, the laws of God or laws of creation there. So how do we, Gregory, you know, if you look at these beliefs, as you said, they're not really always clear cut. What is the will of God there? Not always, let's say, but they do sort of point generally in the right way. So, can we come to completely without this knowledge, Gregory? Can we just come by ourselves to know the will of God, just without any of these faiths or beliefs?
The faith or beliefs, like has been discussed, was basically some form of starting point to help put thoughts together. And that being the case, it was intended that it should be examined. To examine means to allow these, what have been put forward, to observe them in deeds, to observe them through our thoughts. In observing them in deeds, that means through the five senses, which are made manifest, which nature gave to the human personality, and then through human thoughts, and above all, through human intuition. Only when these three different categories are considered, only then you will find that gradually the category of human intuition gradually we resonate with the category of human thought and then that of human physical deeds. That sort of harmony between the three categories, that is the examination which is referred to. Only through such a manner of movement, of motion, we will test all that which has been put forward by these teachings. The question is, if one does not use one's intuition, neither does one use one's thoughts or one's deeds, then the likelihood is that some area of the examination will be missing. However, what has happened, those who mention these teachings and are unable to show examples on how these things should be, because they themselves did not do it. Therein lies the problem. You can only show someone or teach someone or advise someone on that which you know, not that which you yourself do not know, because you do not know it. You lack the experience. It is possible for the human personality who, in observing physical deeds, in reflecting on the physical deeds in his thoughts, and also of the personality who recognizes that he or she has intuition which bursts like a flash. For the personality that follows that pattern of the deeds, of the human thoughts, of the human intuition, that personality is examining events as willed by the will of the Almighty. Such a person holding a good volition for further examination will be led lovingly in accordance with the will of the Almighty to further and deeper recognition. In fact, that initially was what is intended when some of these teachings were permitted the human personality. But as these teachings were gradually distorted and then enforced on others, the situation then arose where there was so much confusion, where the teachers or those who thought they knew better than others, but could not provide the evidence necessary to move things forward, those ones remained on the same spot. And so much confusion has been added to it, and that is the state of affairs in the world today. Check any of the religions and ask them of the unity which is supposed to be between one's physicalities, one's thoughts, and one's intuition. You will find that many can talk about the physical deeds because these are perceptible to them using the five senses. However, no one can prove or disprove that they have thoughts. They sense it is there because they can think. But they cannot use the implement of the five senses, for instance, holding their thoughts in their hands or smelling their thoughts. These they cannot do. Yet they are personally convinced that they have thoughts. The same thing goes with one's intuition. Which intuition should be consistent with one's thoughts, because they do pass through the thought processes. So these three different categories have never been analyzed, and there's so much confusion, and that is why where we are today.
Thank you very much again, Gregory, for this answer. Really, let's say human beings are just, you could say stuck in a particular way of thinking, but it's very limited. And what you have been pointing out is the other, you could say, areas of life which seem to be invisible in human awareness. Although we know are aware, we do, let's say, know there is something called thought, even though, as you say, you can't really perceive it in any physical way. And then there's this intuition, we sense it with that as well. But again, you can't sort of prove it or disprove it, as you said. And yet all of these we need to be looking at because it's part of this world that we are in, to make sense of this world. So yes, there's a lot to take, to take into account, you can say, and get to understand. Okay, before I continue, I just again want to remind the listeners, you're listening to Bless Radio. It's a Tuesday evening spiritual discussion program from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. UK time. The aim of this show is to introduce you to the spiritual knowledge in the light of truth, the Grail Message, by Uprushin. If you are interested to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to this website, which is www.grailmessage.com. I'll spell that. www.grail, Grail, message, MESSAGE.com. And you're listening. The topic we're discussing tonight is grasp the will of God. Grasp the will of God. You're welcome to join us with any questions or comments by contacting our UK number, which is 079 39 641 958. You can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And if you're outside of UK, it is 00447939641958. Again, you can call, text, or use WhatsApp. And we're broadcasting on Bless Radio 1, that's the number 1.com. You can also listen to us on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, again the number 1, space, live stream. That's for the live show. You can also listen to the recording of this show the next day, also on YouTube. Go to youtube.com and type in the search box Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again, space, Grail Message, space, the topic of the show, which tonight is Grasp the Will of God. And of course, you can listen to our previous shows as well on YouTube. Thirdly, we're broadcasting on Zeno, that's ZENO .fm / Bless Radio 1, the number 1 again. Now, Gregory, we've been talking about, you could say, what is God's will? And then we're saying how to find God's will. You said using the our 5 senses, our thoughts, and also the intuition. So we've been doing that. And always, as we always say, weigh and examine everything we come across. Not just accepting what people tell us or we read. So that's crucial. Now, the next step, Gregory, is, I know it sounds that the answer must be obviously right, this answer, but I want to say, can we really, human beings, really obey the will of God? We have this free will, which is a great thing, because it means you can do what you want, but then the idea is to obey God's will. But it seems that we're more likely to go astray than to obey. So, if I say can we really obey, I know you will say yes, but let's say, how can we really obey it? Because it's, as I said, most of the time we seem to go astray.
Again, that's a question which is very pertinent. One may show through very simple examples any sense of the human personality. The human personality has been given a physical body. Which physical body he or she is to use in the experiencing here on earth. The human personality has been granted the 5 senses to use as channels to take in these impressions. In this human body granted through the mercies or the love and the will of the Almighty, it also makes it that to be able to use this body aright, there is a breathing pattern in which you inhale oxygen and exhale subsequently. That is mandatory for any personality that wishes to go against that which helps in the maintenance of the human body. It will be such that the human body is unable to resonate with the spirit and therefore will die off. So, in breathing in accordance or in breathing accordingly, that is obedience. Secondly, the human body needs to be maintained. That means the nutrients which it needs need to be passed on to it in such a way that there is the intake of these nutrients and the subsequent release of the waste. Again, this happens automatically. Any human personality that wishes to reverse this and not comply will make the human body impossible, and there will be no balance, or the body will have to collapse. Therefore, it is possible for the human personality, through simple observation, through simple interaction, to obey the laws which have been woven into creation for the maintenance of all that exists in creation. That is possible. How must it do it? Very simply. There's the need for the simple observation, just like you have in the intake of breathing in and breathing out, in the intake of food and subsequent elimination, in the exercises to keep the body mobile, fit. That is for the physical body. Just as you have that for the physical body, also there must be that in a likewise manner for the thoughts of the human personality. In the same vein, it is expected of the human intuition. It is the lack of use of the human intuition, and which has resulted, or which is basically due to a large extent personal indolence, that makes it possible for the human thoughts to take over everything, and sometimes consider it is possible to violate the laws that maintain the physical body and can still survive. So, of course, it is possible for the human personality to conform to these laws, which help in the maintenance of its body, the physical body, which also help in the maintenance of the non-physical body which it has, and also for the maintenance of the spirit. These are only possible when one's intuition resonates with one's thoughts, which thoughts then resonate with one's physical deeds.
Thanks very much again for your answer there, Gregory. Is breathe in, breathe out. This is, it's always so easy and simple to grasp and follow and obey, you can say. We do it without, naturally, without even any thinking in it, isn't it? That one doesn't take any effort, you can say. Other things take more effort. But it's simple as, I was going to say, as ABC, when we look at it in that way. So if we can make ourselves, I would say, think in a simple way, with humility, and allow to receive rather than having our own so-called wisdom, and letting that lead in, rather than receiving wisdom. So yes, things could be easier and definitely, easy to obey, as you've said. So thank you for that. Now, another question there, Gregory. We've talked about the will of God, and for every human being to obey or follow or find. But what if somebody doesn't believe in God? Because in the Grail Message we are told, because if you do, let's say you do act. I know breathing. Nobody thinks about this one, whether you believe in God, but something, let's say, other things which you might follow, and that requires you to be more conscious somehow about God. What if there, as I say, people who uh, are not really aware or not really seeking to know that, or let's say even acting blindly without conviction, as we said earlier. Um, uh, how does it work when can they really follow that will of God? Because we are told in the Grail Message that belief must become conviction. So can those who have not got any even an idea of God, can they ever find the will of God or follow it?
Again, thanks for this particular question. It is erroneous to think that because other people do not share of our beliefs, therefore they have missed their way. The category of those you just mentioned, one has to look deeply. There are those who do not share of the way that many of us have presented the evidence. The way the evidence has been presented has been completely inconsistent with that which they themselves know occurs in nature. They didn't say they do not believe in what they perceive in nature. What they have stressed that they do not believe of the conceptions we have put forward, which conceptions are inconsistent with what they themselves have perceived in nature. That is one category. For when such a personality departs the earth and has dropped its physical body, it becomes very clear to it that the physical body is not the only thing, that the real essence is still there. Maybe then it will be searching for a way out. The path it has to follow depends on he himself or herself, how open it is to the streams of radiations, which streams flow in creation, flow in the world of matter, and in here on earth. So that's the category who basically do not accept the conceptions which have been presented by others. The other category who completely lack any belief, or may say they don't even believe in nature, in that which they themselves can not they cannot prove with that which is physical. That means they can only believe or are convinced in that in which they can use their five senses to substantiate. Such already have forgotten that they cannot use their five senses to substantiate their thoughts, because their thoughts are completely independent of their five senses. And that is why you will find those who play tricks with the same one thing and in their thoughts are doing another thing. That means their thoughts do not resonate with their deeds. So you will find that though that category have already shot themselves on the foot because they have their thoughts, which they themselves agree that they have their thoughts, yet cannot provide any proof that these thoughts are perceptible using the five senses. Again, one goes on to that of the intuition. These categories, these people in these categories don't even agree that this was intuition. Even with all the facts provided that some thoughts occur to them which has never been before. There are happenings, there are other happenings in nature which they sometimes can perceive but cannot explain. But they have no belief. In fact, it becomes almost impossible to speak with such. Why? Because very simply, what many perceive as nature, the seas, the sky, the woods, all these things already pre-existed before the advent of man on earth. No one ever asked, how did these come into existence before man came? How about the elements? Had these personalities asked themselves these questions? Which questions is like forcing them into motion? Whom they are? What have they come to do? Then in all simplicity, in a step-by-step manner, they would have been guided by the love that permitted them to come to the earth to experience, by the will that permitted them to come to the earth to experience, and the resources which have been put in place ever before the human personality started reflecting on consciousness or self-consciousness. Then the human personality will have been led in a step-by-step manner towards that. But because the human spirit do not wish to examine of the facts which are presented before them, they become gullible to indolence. They become self-satisfied. But before long, these same human personalities will not be here forever, for they know that they were born. Only those who were born into the earth through fellow human personalities, only those are the ones who will have to die. That means to drop their physical body. So it becomes self-evident as soon as the human personality wishes to investigate. But if it is too indolent to investigate, then it is he and he alone who must bear the consequences of its inactivity.
Thank you so much for this answer there and explanation you've given there, Gregory. Now, I think many people in the world will be aware that this Saturday, the King Charles of United Kingdom and his wife Camilla they're having a coronation. And in the olden days, the king or the queen who was ruling the country, it was said that they were brought into that position through divine right. I know this is not a very common way of ruling anymore in the world, even they are only symbolic in many ways. Any case, Gregory, and people even find that unacceptable, that especially where there are democracies, that somebody not democratically elected has been put in a position of power. But any case, just looking at that, Gregory, this, let's say, historical tradition where the ruler was, a king or queen, and they were, well, people would say they came to rule by accident of royal birth, and then those king or queen were claiming that they were there through divine right. So my question on it, Gregory, is, was there any divine right when a king or ruler, or such a ruler of king or queen was born in that position, or is it arbitrary? Somehow it's arbitrary.
The rulership or leadership, if that expression, rulership or leadership or kingship, is put aside, and the expression responsibility is put in place, only those who, through their activities, show loving thoughts, loving responsibilities upon others, only those are rulers. Those who take responsibilities in doing that which is good in accordance with the reference framework of creation, to ensure that their neighbors come to benefit, to know of the joys and happiness that has arisen through the streams of the power in creation. Only those are the real rulers, are the real people that has been put in place in accordance with the will of the Almighty. All else stand on their own. So the question one must ask, the rules put in place by the government, the rules put in place by the king, do they show responsibilities such that it will be of benefit to the inhabitants of those they claim to have authority over? If yes, and these responsibilities are taken seriously and genuinely, and help the people to grow in accordance with these reference rules, this reference framework, these responsibilities that help the people to grow in accordance with the will of the Almighty, if that is the case, then yes. If that is not the case, then no. So people can come and claim all sorts. Of course, the free will is there, but only those things that serve for the benefit of the human spirit in accordance with the will, and those who help in the management of this, only those are appointed in accordance with the will, not those who claim It's only a claim. And therefore, by their activities, each human personality must strive to ensure they know him or her who has been appointed by the will of the Almighty to ensure that they come to understand this will aright. Human, discussions are very varied. So one should not look at these things as, oh, because this person is there. You yourself, through your activities, can be a leader in the right examples you show in all your activities.
Thank you very much. We've come to the end of the show, listeners. Hope you enjoyed the discussion on grasp the will of God. And I'd like to end, as usual, reading from the Grail Message, the foreword of the Grail Message, titled For Your Guidance. The bandage falls, and belief becomes conviction. Liberation and redemption lie only in conviction. I am addressing earnest seekers only. They must be able and willing to examine this matter objectively. Religious fanatics and irresponsible enthusiasts may hold aloof, for they are detrimental to the truth. As for the malevolent and prejudiced, they shall find their sentence in the very words. The message will strike only those who still carry within them a spark of truth and the yearning to be true human beings. To all such it will become the shining light and staff. It will lead them unswervingly out of all the chaos of the present-day confusion. The following word does not bring a new religion, but is intended as the torch to help all serious listeners or readers find the right path, which leads in flexible weighing and examining. See that you are truly alive in the wonderful creation of your God. Abdushin. Dear listeners, you can get, if you're interested to know more about the Grail Message or want to get a copy of the Grail Message, you can go to the website, which is www.grail, Grail, message, message.com. As usual, we'll be back next Tuesday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. with another topic. Gregory, would you like to say anything to say goodbye?
Wishing every listener a beautiful week.
Thank you. And blessings from me as well, listeners. New month has started of May. Spring is here. So glorious blessings from on high for this new month. All the best, everybody. We'll be back, as I say, next Tuesday. So hope to see you then. God bless. Good night.